let's go ahead and get started. So today, here on the Capital Raise Strategy session, we have a special guest. Now, I've known this, I've known this young lady for a long time. Matter of fact, we were on a deal together on Augusta, Georgia, 104 units, going full cycle. And I could say firsthand, I've learned a lot from her, talking with her about capital raising and everything. But on that particular deal, I learned a lot from Vinki, because I would ask her questions. She would, okay, Darryl, this is what that is, and this is how this works. And I was pretty much, I'm gonna say I pretty much not too new, but I was really just getting started in capital raising. So, excuse me. So that particular deal brought a lot of information to me, and Vinki was able. She helped me through to understanding a lot of what's going on. So, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to read. I want to give you a little bit more information about Vinki. All right. So, Vinki, I got a little scratchy throat, so please bear with me a little bit. So first, I want to say just welcome to the Capital Raise Strategy session, where we are thrilled to introduce Ms. Vinki Loomba, a luminary in the realms of entrepreneurship, strategic investment, and real estate. As the founder and CEO of Loomba Investment Group, Vinki has expertly bridged her extensive background in information technology and academia with a passion for real estate. Please mute yourself. Guiding professionals towards the zenith of financial freedom. Boy, my throat's scratchy. Her unique perspective, derived from her roles as both a general partner and a limited partner in numerous real estate ventures, offers invaluable insights into making strategic decisions that align with long-term financial objectives. Vinki's commitment to education, empowerment, and her philanthropic efforts to impact lives around the globe positions her as an exemplary leader and strategist in the financial and real estate sectors. So join us in this session to gain from Vinki's deep understanding of the intricacies of capital raising, a visionary approach to investment, and her strategic prowess, excuse me, that has propelled countless professionals towards unparalleled success. Welcome, Vinki, to Capital Raise Strategy session. How you doing? How you doing this afternoon?
Thank you so much, Daryl. Wow, that was quite an introduction. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Hey, no problem.
Whatever you think might be fun.
Okay.
Well, I know I read a little bit of your bio, but tell us a little more about Vinki. Who is Vinki, and how did she get started in this?
Thank you so much for that question. I think that's a very important question in everybody's life, because the way I look at it, everybody has a story. So there's a starting point in everybody's life. So my story is, I'm from India. I'm an immigrant. I came to this country about 30 years ago. And like you mentioned, I was in the IT space for multiple years. And also I had some presence in the academia as well, because I was an adjunct professor at California State University teaching the executive MBA program. So with that being said, beside that, I have a small real estate portfolio, single family portfolio between me and my husband. And when we became landlords by default, because what happened when we built our second home, we were able to rent our first home because we were in a position to afford two homes. And we quickly learned about the passive income, because we were getting about $500 passive cash flow from there. So like, oh, we can make money while we are doing our corporate jobs or W-2 jobs. We don't have to change anything on the side. We can grow our portfolio. So we started, buying more and just got to like 5, 6 units, basically duplexes and single family homes. And then at that time, I got my realtor license too. I became California realtor, but I didn't want to sell homes. I went into the retail side because the commission was a little bit more. And my focus was just like generating enough money for myself and my family. So we are just, financially free, and we are enjoying time with our kids. And not necessarily that was the right approach, but at that time it felt so right because we were young and we thought we are invincible, we can do everything in this world, basically, in early 20s. So I got the realtor license and started selling businesses because I didn't want to sell residential homes. So the commission was 10%. So that kind of, I was drawn towards that I can make more money there and I can start investing on the retail side. So we started investing a little bit on the retail side too when I got my California realtor license, because that was my weekend job in addition to my primary corporate job. And fast forward, few years down the road, it was too hectic with between the two young kids, 2 corporate jobs, and lots of travel. If you remember that, we didn't used to have something called remote working or
Yeah.
VPN. So I recall very vividly one time when I flew back from Chile from some implementation. I put my bags down and my husband was ready to pick up his bag and leave the house. On his way out, he told me, Vinki, I know you're invincible, you can do multiple things, but you got to choose one. Either you got to choose your real estate or you got to choose your job, because our kids are hurting, our family's hurting. Money is not everything. So that's where I'm like, okay, I need to stop down and breathe. And then I learned something called slow down to speed up. So that was my mantra going forward. So I put my real estate career on the back burner and just continued with my W-2 job, and similar with my husband. And we still had the portfolio, small real estate single family portfolio that we kept it for a long time. And finally, we got rid of that too. Fast forward 20 years down the road, I was able to take early retirement from my W-2 because my position moved to New York and I didn't have any comparable position in California. So I took off. And at that time, I was like, not sure what I wanted to do. Suddenly didn't want to go back to the corporate job again. So I thought, I'm retired. And I asked my husband, would you like me to work anymore? And he's like, no, it's up to you. We are at a good place. I'm like, fine. So then we started traveling. And like I told you, every story has something there that propels you to the next level. So one time we came back from Egypt and I was sleeping early morning, like 3:30, 4 o'clock. I woke up with this strong epiphany, you can call it, a strong feeling that if I die right now, what did I do in this world? All my education, all the experiences that I have gathered, it's just gonna go with me, poof, right? I was just worried about making money, raising my kids, or just like, just a basic necessity, just like always in a survival mode. So I woke up and then I was just thinking about all this, experience that I had, the epiphany that I had. I'm like, okay, I need to do something. Maybe I need to make a difference. I need to give back because I have taken so much for the last 20, 22 years, So I created, we already had a nonprofit organization that was sitting on the back burner somewhere. So I revamped that. So I said, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and help the women and children who need our help and just create some space in their mind, not necessarily change everything for them, just give them maybe next meal on their table or just give them the basic necessities. So they have a little bit space in their mind that they can think something else beyond whatever they're caught up in their life, in the survival mode. So we started funding that nonprofit, and then we realized we need more money, how to do that. So that brought me back to real estate with a different focus and with a different purpose. And since this was a purpose driven, and I was so driven towards to make it happen for me.
Right.
And I just kind of jumped into it. And that's when I met Jim first time. And Jim's like, yes, go for it. And he supported me along the way. Thank you, Jim, for being there all the time. That was wonderful way to start of GOB as well. I think those days GOB happened, and multiple things that we did together, multiple webinars, multiple knowledge sharing sessions. We did a lot. But that's how I started in this space. And I'm very happy that I got to connect with a lot of people and not just making a difference in the people around me who are the investors or who are aspiring investors, sharing my story with them and helping them to get to the next level. Beyond that, we are trying to make a difference in other people's life who are underprivileged, I will call that. I don't like to use that word, but I wanted to say that because they do not know their own potential. They're just caught up into their survival mode and they're not trying to get out of their set patterns. So we're trying to, help them a little bit to get out of that pattern and do something good for themselves.
Okay. So there's just a couple of things that I really want to tap on. One thing sort of struck me to the core. But you said something that this is what struck me to the core, because this is what's pushing me and driving me. You said, if I died right now, those words struck me to the core because I'm always telling my wife, I'm driving, I'm doing this for my family. I want to leave a legacy behind. I want to do this, I want to do that. Can you please talk a little more about if I died right now?
Sure. I think that's very important, and everybody should know that because we always think that everybody around us is going to die, but we're going to live forever. When somebody dies, we feel bad. We go to the funeral, we give our respects and all that. At that time, for a few minutes, we are so close to the truth that this is what life is all about. There is life is what is between birth and death, B and D, right? So,
Right.
but there is C in the middle. It's a B, C, D, right?
That's right.
So B and D, there's a C in the middle. So C makes us the creators. So we are the creators of our own life, and we decide how we wanted to live or what we wanted to do in this life. So when we tap into that intelligence, everything else is just like falls into place by itself. So this realization that I'm gonna die too, because was a big thing for me. Because in day-to-day life, you just feel like I'm here forever. I have time to do things. I'll just wait for this thing to happen, then I'll do the next thing. But the thing
Right.
is, you have this realization, okay, the next breath that next, I will say exhalation that I have, it might not turn into inhalation anymore. At that time, you realize that I do not have much time. I have to do everything right here, right now. And you're not worried about making mistakes at that time because mistakes are not actually mistakes. They're giving you a chance to do something bigger and better. So you are trying more because time is limited. So that's what happened with me.
Wow, that's deep right there. You said, I want to go back to one more statement. Slow down to speed up. You got to tell me about that. Slow down to speed up.
That's very important as well, because sometimes we are rushing, but you need to know which direction you're going. And
Right.
that's very important. Sometimes we like a lot of herd mentality, we all have that. We're human beings. We follow each other. We feel like, okay, this person is doing this person's doing this. I wanted to do that too. Maybe that path was easier. I'm going to follow that path 100%. So a lot of herd mentality too sometimes. So in all this chaos called life, when you're running to achieve that success could mean anything to anybody. This is subjective, and then it's like everybody's success or goals are different in their life. So when you're running towards this, it's always a good idea to slow down a little bit and smell the coffee to see all around you. Are you going in the right direction? And
Right.
that's what helps you to speed up because it's going to help you connect the dots a little bit better. And you're not just running all the way into one direction. All of a sudden you realize, oh my God, I'm on the wrong path all along.
Right.
Maybe I don't want to be in acquisitions. Maybe I just wanted to be a capital raiser. That's it. Or maybe I just wanted to be acquisition 100%. I'm just, kind of in the wrong place trying to raise capital, or just like use the terminology over here, barking in the wrong tree kind of thing. I don't like to use that, but those kind of scenarios can happen.
That's fantastic. Vinki, I'm not going to monopolize. I'm gonna let Jim get his questions in there. I could go on forever because you and I have worked together a long time. But I'm gonna go ahead and pass the mic over to Jim. Let Jim pick up from here.
Well, I don't know how much I'm going to be able to do. My voice is just about gone for the day.
You and I both.
So, and I apologize for coming in just a little bit late. I was on the phone with my doctor, but and lost track of the time. But did you and Vinki discuss Vinki's role early in the GOB network?
No, I didn't touch on that.
So some of you here may not know, most of you may not know, that Vinki actually helped me get this capital raising strategy session started every Wednesday when we first started the GOB network, and she was the first host. And so I want to make sure I acknowledge that and thank her for helping us get that started. Of course, back then, Vinki, you were very early in your journey. And I remember some of you, and for you guys that don't know and have not been able to get on a call with Vinki, she has come so far, so fast in her career. She's just really, the Babe Ruth of doing this, because she's hit it out of the park multiple times. But that very first time wasn't a home run. That very first time was, for like most people, in my mind, was a struggle and a learning curve, a huge, huge, huge learning curve. Do you still remember that, Vinki? And how do you remember how that transpired?
I remember that everything vividly, Jim. And then I just always feel grateful where I am today, because I can see how far I have come. Because for a person like me who has a total technology geek, you can say IT person, and then being even academia still on the technology side, and all just worried about technology, and then had some experience in real estate, but not that intensive at the level that people have in this industry. And coming into this industry and trying to make your space, that was kind of hard. But I think your past experience helped you a lot, because everything that you do in your life, every little thing, every little experience contributes to your journey. And then with me having that technology background, it helped me a lot, because I was able to create my branding, my marketing buzz all around me, so I can connect with people and showcase who am I, that I am my brand. That's what my voice was. It's like, okay, I wanted to connect and I wanted to help, and I'm here to learn from you. Because it was never like the feeling that that I know something you do not know. I was more like, value add. How can I add value? How can I show you? Even Zoom was something new, if you remember those days, because COVID hit, and all of a sudden a lot of people were on Zoom. People didn't know how to maneuver, and I was like trying to help people all the time. Okay, let me help you with this thing. Let me help you with Active Campaign. Let me help you with this thing. So that opened up the communication channels for me really fast with multiple people. And I made very, very meaningful relationships, like yourself, Jim, like Daryl. So we are like on each other's speed dial. So I never felt hesitant calling you, and vice versa. We have such an open communication channel that if we need anything from each other, we are able to connect. And I think that's what means a lot in this industry, because you need to be resourceful more than having a title of that I am in the acquisition or I'm in the capital raiser, because the more resourceful you are, the more dots you're able to connect, and the faster the growth is.
So I would love to go down memory lane a little bit. On the very first raise, and I don't even remember if you actually wound up raising money for that first deal or not, because there was a lot of negotiating about what is my position going to be and my role, and what am I going to be able to do, what am I not going to be able to do, or what am I going to get to do, and what am I not going to get to do. So was the first one, were you able to get in on that first deal, or did that one pass us up and we went to the second?
No. The first deal, it just fell in my lap, just like that. Because I was investing as a passive investor, I was an LP in multiple deals. And the first deal fell in my lap. And then apparently some people around me, my friends or whatever, they wanted to invest and we jumped on it. And the deal that you're talking about, I think that was second or third deal when we met and we were talking. I was trying to figure it out because that was so new to me, the first couple deals. When somebody say you come as a GP and there's a new terminology coming in as a GP or co-GP. So I was trying to understand that. So negotiation, all that came later on. Okay, I need to negotiate on this now, because first understanding was like, okay, whatever they're doing is they are right because they are in the industry for longer than me. They are in the market. They are savvy about this thing. I do not know. I need to just be quiet and learn this thing. So that was a learning process for me. And then we ran into each other. So my deal, then I talked to you. And then we started, we have multiple, I think, charts about that. And I think that's the deal Dara was talking earlier. So we got onto that deal and we were able to negotiate the way we talk multiple times, what it should look like as a co-GP, what the share is going to look like, how we're going to be sitting in the organization chart, all those things that played out really well. And it was a good learning experience for me and Dara, both of us. And then we exited in 11 months on that deal, giving 1.2x multiple to our investors, plus about 120K in depreciation. That was like a home run deal for us. We learned a lot, but that just propelled us to the next level very quickly.
Yeah, and I'd love for you to speak to that, if you can put yourself back in that mindset of you don't know what you don't know when you're getting started. And you made a comment, well, I need to kind of listen to them because they've been doing this longer than me and they know more about it than I do. But in reality, that very first deal that you and I talked about, the two folks that were trying to get that deal done had not been in the industry a lot longer than you. But it goes to show that if you're really dedicated and if you dive into this head first in the deep end, if you jump out of the airplane and build the parachute on the way down, you can learn so much about this business so fast that you will know vastly more than the people that you're speaking to that are not in this every day. And a lot of people have the imposter syndrome and feel like, well, I don't know enough yet, or I'm not smart enough, or these folks know so much more than I do. And in reality, a lot of times they're only months ahead of you, but they're spending massive amounts of time learning how to do it and actually taking action, and not just on the learning. And that's the big difference that I seen between, I probably talked to 30, maybe 50 different people at the same time that I was talking with you, Vinki. Mm-hmm. And of those folks, the vast majority of them still have not succeeded. And the biggest difference was that you didn't wait to take action. You jumped in head first and said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to figure it out come hell or high water. And I'm not going to wait until I know everything to get it done. And I'm sure there was a lot of things that you learned on the first deal that you said, okay, these are some of the things that I learned and now I've done differently, or that even in negotiating your position on the GP team. So are there some lessons there that things that you, knowing what you know now, that like, I didn't know this, and so I didn't do these things. Would you talk about a little bit of that?
Yeah, sure, Jim. And I do remember that the first deal, I remember one of the first deals. I think that was actually the third or fourth deal. Maybe that could be a little deal that we did together. That deal didn't go through. I remember that, Jim, now, because I brought in to be a KP on that deal. I remember that. I talked to you, and that was a couple new folks. I remember I used to have this partner. He was brand new, just like me, and we had a couple other people. But those other two partners who brought the deal to us to partner with us, they were our partners in the deal that we went full cycle as well with me and Daryl. They were there as well later on. But the first deal didn't go through. I think there was lot of miscommunication. I think that's what the number one thing that I learned in this industry is there's a lot of miscommunication because sometimes we assume a lot of things. We just cook our own stories. Everybody has something in their mind, their own story, right? So when they hear something, they add to it and they just amplify that. So, and in this amplification, we forgot to ask the right questions, because we have to see us as a team, no matter what deal we get into. That's what our other learning is. And I think this is because of my corporate background as well, because we work in the teams and then we just take things down as a team. So a team is when you're looking at it, it could be one person, not like you have 5 people and 5 different minds and going 5 different ways. It's not going to work out. The only way it's going to work out is it's like one vision, one goal, and everybody's working towards that. That was the number one learning for me. And communication is very, very important to do that. And you need to be upfront. You need to be authentic. You need to ask them what you want. Unless you ask, things not going to happen. And the other thing you were talking about earlier about, I jumped onto it because I think that's what my learning style is. Unless I do it myself, I just feel like I do not know anything. So I wanted to try it, and I'm not scared of failing because unless I try, I do not know if I'm going to fail, I'm going to pass. And it's all in your mind, whether you fail or you pass or you're successful, unsuccessful, nobody cares. Everybody's worrying about their journey in their life. And I do not need anybody's validation either, because I've been there, done that. The earlier part of my life, always looking for validation. If somebody tells me, oh, Vinki, you're good, then I'm good. It does not matter what people think. Everybody's so busy in their own life. Everybody is busy making their life take it to the success level wherever they wanted to see themselves. But the only problem is these patterns that block us doing certain things because we are brought up in a certain way that we are always looking for validation. If I do good, if other people are going to say you are good, you excel at this thing, that's the only way I see myself. So when you break all those patterns or when you get out of those patterns, I think it's a different world that you're looking at. And then you have to, make the best out of it. It just falls into place by itself, basically. I think that's what was happening with me. And I know I'm making the comment like this, that I'm sitting back and seeing the magic happening. And that's what is happening, basically.
So I want to delve into another subject matter that a lot of people struggle with, which is, where do I find my investors? And so talk to us a little bit about, you came from an educational background. A lot of folks that, are college professors at very prestigious schools. You would think, okay, I've got a really good group of folks that I know that I can raise capital from. So what has that journey been like from you? How much in dollars or percent or whatever metric you want to use, how much of the money you've raised has come from your Rolodex before you got into the industry as opposed to the Rolodex you built after you got into the industry?
I think it both ways. It's just like, I think more than the dollar amount here, Jim, I'm going to highlight one thing is like how many meaningful relationships that you have created over the course of time. Because the relationships that you're building, that's going to be lifelong relationships. And these going to be the people who are going to be reinvesting and reinvesting all the time. They're going to be repeat investors for you. And my thing was I wanted to create my blue ocean. And then there is a red ocean. Everybody's kind of, trying to raise from there. I wanted to do my own thing on the side too. And for that, I think your branding plays a big role in that. And branding is not all about, the name of your brand or your company name, because that's what people think. My company name is my brand. That's what it is. Branding is you. You are the brand. You are the brand for yourself. So it's just like how you present yourself and then and how many social media channels or how many channels you are present, like kind of omnipresence you have out there. And then other than that is targeting the audience, what kind of audience you're resonating with, you know, and what kind of conversations you're carrying with them, and then what kind of trust level you have, or how you're building their trust, or how you're winning their trust, you know, because every person has a different personality. Not one person is the same, you know, everybody's going to process things differently. I know there's a lot of schools of thoughts in our industry, a lot of people teaching so many things, so many different ways, a lot of cookie cutter approaches out there. But I have noticed that cookie cutter approaches does not work all the time. So it has to be something more personalized. And then you have to make the person feel special, whosoever you're talking to, because every person coming into my arena, at least from my experience, is a very special person. And I wanted to build a relationship with them. So my thing is, I'm going to give you an analogy over here. I think I talked about that too before with you, Jim, maybe in our past years, you know, when we spoke last, that, you know, how I learned this very early on, that how when we plant something, we plant a seed, right? When we plant a seed, we are not saying, okay, day one, we're getting the flower. Because we focus on flower, we're never going to get the flower. So when we plant a seed, we make sure it has enough manure, enough sunlight, enough water, or enough fertilizer, or the right kind of soil. Everything is there, right? And then we are patiently waiting. We are consistent with our efforts for our plant to grow. And then there is a fruit or there's a flower to it. That's what is applicable in every aspect of our life. If we put enough effort, whether it's in your learning, whether it is building relationships, you know, or trying to reach out the people's, nurturing those relationships, whether it's emails or phone calls or whatever you're doing, your webinars, your podcasts, multiple channels out there. If you're putting enough effort and taking the right actions, you're going to get the fruit. You're going to see the results of that.
I love that analogy because anyone, almost anyone, can relate to that. That if you plant a seed, it doesn't just sprout, and even if you plant a hardy seed that you don't give much attention to, it still takes time. And we don't just give up if the first seed doesn't sprout. And especially if you think back to, you know, some of our, you know, the history of humanity and gardening and you know, growing plants. If you just gave up every time something failed, then we wouldn't be here today. So we don't even think about giving up when it comes to sustaining a life. You know, it's one of the basic needs, you know, water, food, and shelter. And so we will continually plant over and over and over, and we will test over and over and over and try different things over and over and over, but we don't give up. And if we would think about our business that way, if we would think about raising capital that way, I think that most of us would find a level of success. No one's crop is always going to come in the same way, but all of us would have success if we could just learn to take away our emotions. When a plant doesn't sprout up and grow, we don't beat ourselves up and say, I'm no good at this. I just can't do this. This is not for me. You know, we go and plant another one and try again. You know, we think of every factor in the world that could have gone wrong. We don't blame ourselves. But in business, we have a tendency to blame ourselves and to think there's something wrong with us. There's something that we are not doing.
That's true. I think that's the main difference, you know, because that's what I was telling you earlier, the validation, because we are looking for validation. Or somebody's going to say, oh, she is good or he is good. That's going to propel us to the next level. But when we are planting a seed or in our backyard or in our park, there's nobody seeing us, right? It's just us. So why can't we just have the same mindset for ourselves that whatever I'm doing it for myself. I'm going to be here. I'm going to make this happen. Not worry about what people are thinking, because it does not matter in the bigger schema. Seriously, in the bigger schema, it does not matter. what anybody thinks. Everybody's so busy in their own lives, they do not have time. They will judge you for a second, but who cares, right? Who cares? That's the thing. That's how, because you have to see your patterns, what patterns I'm following. And this is by default from the very childhood, the way our upbringing is, whatever country you're born in and how you're brought up, what your parents were or who your parents were, what values they had, that they instill that in you. So you are following certain patterns in your life as you grow up. And when you get adult, it's very hard to see those patterns or break those patterns because you're doing it unknowingly, like brushing your teeth in the morning. Nobody tells you go brush your teeth. You wake up and you run to the vanity of the sink to go brush your teeth in the morning. This is just like ingrained us. But when you start seeing every little pattern, when you just pay close attention and question yourself, why I'm doing this? What is the purpose behind it? Or there's a bunch of automated responses in our mind. When somebody says something, we already have our answer ready. That's called reaction. We don't even take a pause, like, boom, this is it. I like this or I don't like this. If we take a pause for a second and just think where this person is coming from, because that's not about you, that's about that person. That is that person's story, whether it's good or bad or whatever, that's person's perspective. So you do not bring that into your story. You just like take a pause and think, why I'm doing this? Because I'm doing this because of my past experiences. I have this pattern to react or respond in this way. But if I pause, I have a choice. Do I react or respond or just ignore for a second? Maybe I don't even want to do anything at this minute. I'll come back to it later. So this all changes the whole scenario for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go back to the question that I asked earlier, which is raising capital inside your network as opposed to the network that you built. Can you speak to that, and what was your success inside your own network versus the network that you built once you start doing this?
I think like I told you, I created a little bit buzz for me because I had the marketing knowledge coming from the academia side or the IT side. So I knew how to put things together. When I came to this industry, I saw that nobody knows me. Nobody's gonna want to invest. And then my network, they don't want to invest with me in the beginning because I'm just starting new. It's like, okay, she was a IT professional or professor, how can I trust her with my money? I don't want to give money to her. Even my friend circle too, they might not want to invest. So, right. So I wanted to, you can say I took the round that was different than anybody else because most people, they go out, they raise capital first for themselves. And then they say, okay, I'm going to build my brand and I'm just going to put myself out there. Mine was totally opposite. So what I did, I created this portal for myself. I created a buzz around me that, hey, I'm investing as LP in these deals. I'm looking because first GP deal fell into my lap just like that. I'm like, I'm going to active and then I'm going to be raising for this. This is my go-to gig now going forward. I'm going to be 100% real estate person. And then I use technology. I use the social media portals, LinkedIn, Facebook. I was already there. I tried to amplify those, I quickly got my CRM. I got my business, my website built because I knew my business, my website is my business card. Because my old corporate business card is no longer valid anymore. I need to have my website. That was the number one thing for me before I even started. I got my website built, and then I created a lead magnet on that. And thanks to my friend Vinny Chopra, he had this. I was part of his program, anyways. To begin with, I started with him, and he told me how to write the ebook. I started with the ebook, so that's going to be the hook. To get people into your database. So that's how I did. And I had a lot of connections to begin with because I was very socially connected with a lot of people in my, I would say, social circle. So I added everybody into my CRM. So I started sending them the emails. That was the first thing I did. telling them who am I, what I'm doing, my transition from the corporate world to the real estate world, telling them my story, how I'm doing that. So people started liking those emails. Then I started, okay, adding more to it, more to it. And then the other thing was, luckily, I was very fortunate, Jim. From the day one I started getting deals and I getting opportunity to become GP with people at different levels. So that opened up more opportunities for me, basically. Like I'm saying, if you start taking actions, you will see so many opportunities all around you. Things start falling into place automatically. And sometimes you feel like, oh my God, I'm so grateful for all these opportunities, how it happening. But in the background, you're doing a lot of work too, because at the same time, I started my podcast too. I did not know nothing about podcasts. I didn't even know what guests to bring, what to do. If you remember that, Jim, you were maybe one of the first guests that we had on the podcast. We started our podcast as a spiritual podcast because we thought mindset is everything. And I would say that's 100% true. Mindset is everything. And then when you open yourself up to receiving, things happen for you. So started the podcast, CRM, social media portal, website, lead magnet, wrote bunch of blogs, and whatever our understanding was. There were so many people at your level because a lot of people, I learned from my experience. Other thing is, a lot of people are hesitant. They stop themselves because they feel like I do not know enough, like the imposter syndrome that you were talking about earlier. And then who should I share my story with? Who's going to listen to me? Who has the time to listen to my story or who has time to read to my blog? But you do not know, so many people are at our level, and we are always attracting the people at our level. And I'm going to put it in a different words because everybody is a vibrating energy. Everybody's an energy, they're vibrating at different level. So whatever level you're vibrating at, you're going to be attracting all those vibrations into your energy field. So those people are going to be attracted to you because they are looking for something that you're offering. You have heard the saying, whatever you're seeking is seeking you. So whatever you're seeking, they're seeking you too. They're seeking whatever you're trying to share with them. And I'm sorry, I'm just talking in like very depth, a little bit, kind of woo-woo stuff. I know one of my good friends, they always tell me that, Vinki, you, like people are woo-woo, like you're woo, 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 3 times woo.
I love it myself. I'm gonna tell you right now, I love it.
Yeah, I think that the moment you know you're on a different journey, a different path in this life, is when your mind starts to think about those things. And you're not just waking up and automatically brushing your teeth, putting on your shoes and going to work. And then coming home and having dinner and washing the dishes, watching a show and going to bed. And suddenly something happens in your life and you're starting to think about these woo-woo things. And I think that's when your journey begins. The longer you allow yourself the permission to start thinking about those things and thinking about, hey, could my life be different? Why am I here? Why am I where I'm at in this life? Is it because life, like a stream, has just pushed me in this direction? Or did I put an oar in the water and decided, no, I wanted to go down a different path? Did I set my sail and say purposely, I'm going to take a different path? And that's what sets people apart from living a life that is dictated to them as opposed to living a life that they dictate. And so I'm glad that you went down some of that woo-woo stuff.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I mean, you said it very right because sometimes it does happen because we underestimate our potential.
Yeah.
Human potential is so big, you can't even fathom, because we have set boundaries, this physical boundary of our body, and we just think this is it. This is who I am, and this is how people perceive me. And we have all these rights and wrongs in our head. Because if that person's thinking I'm wrong, I am wrong. But why? We never question, you know? So, but we have a lot more potential. And the only way to tap into that potential is just turning inwards and asking the question to yourself versus asking somebody else. Because when you're asking somebody else the same question, they're going to give the answer, whatever is in their perception, whatever is in their experience.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there's any wrong thing. That's the right thing to do, to ask questions to others. Go read on the internet, go read books, watch YouTube videos, whatever content you can consume all the content, but still ask the questions inward to yourself. Why I'm doing this, first of all? What is my purpose? What is my life purpose? The biggest purpose you wanted to find out. And the next thing is you wanted to find out where I wanted to go. Right? Everybody wants to go, but where I wanted to go, you wanted to understand that where you're coming from, what is your starting platform is, who you are at this current minute or current moment, and where you are. And then you think where you wanted to go without even thinking whether it's doable or not doable, because most of the time everybody gets too much caught up within this thing, how do I do this? Don't worry about how this, just think about your present state and your future state. I remember I used to teach a class in my MBA program too on this, the present state and the future state and how to get there. First, you figure out your present state, where you are, who you are, and are you happy? Most of the time, you're not happy in your present state. That's the reason you wanted to go to your future state. So you need to look at your present state and ask all the question to yourself. Who am I in the present moment? Why I'm doing what I'm doing right now? Am I getting the happiness? Am I getting the level of contentment, satisfaction, or the connections, whatever I'm looking for? Answer all these questions. Then next, where I wanted to go, what my future state looks like, right? What I'm going to be doing there, what it's going to look like for my connections, my communication, who I'm going to be connecting with, what I'm going to be attracting in my energy circle. Like I told you earlier, we are all energies and we have the magnetic field around us. And wherever we vibrate, that's the kind of vibrations we are emitting, and we are attracting all the other energies around us. And once you have those figured out, present and future, you'll figure out your GPS system. You'll get your GPS to get there. You'll figure out how to get there because you can reverse engineer everything. People talk about visualization. When I go there, I visualize everything. No, there's a little bit technique to do that too. So for all that, you need to be clear-headed. You cannot have all the chaos called life, just beating you down 100%. And you cannot be in the survival mode all the time. Like you were saying earlier, wake up, brush your teeth, go to work, come home, have your coffee, tea, dinner, go to bed. No, you have to step outside of that, your regular routine a little bit to tap into that.
Yeah. And I know there's a lot of conversation in society about the woo-woo stuff. And, this is, a bunch of malarkey, and you guys are at the end. You will find her very easily. She's easily found out there. So I want to open it up here at the last few minutes. Does anyone, and we're not taking questions from the internet, but we're only taking questions from people that are live on the Zoom. Is there anyone that has a question for Vinki or a comment about today's podcast that you'd like to make?
I think Vinki gave a lot of information out.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Masungiri speaking. So Vinki, I wanted to ask, being an aspiring real estate syndicator and raising capital, I tend to lean towards the underwriting and things of that nature just because like I'm a numbers guy and things of that nature. So capital raising seems a bit intimidating for me because I'm not sure how much of appealing I can be as a people person. Uh, what can you say to that effect? You know, raising capital for my first deal. And you know, as a side comment, I've also been told as an individual, it's better to specialize on one part of the deal instead of, you know, spreading myself across all bases of it. So if I'm more interested in specializing in underwriting, I should, you know, be full force with that instead of trying to do underwriting and trying to also capital raise.
Thank you for that question. And I would say, from my experiences, yes, you need to excel in whatever you're doing. And if you like underwriting, I would stick with that. You should learn the inside out of underwriting completely, that you should know each number, like how every number is behaving, because not everybody understands numbers. And if you can understand numbers, if you can excel in that, you will see how people will trust you with your numbers and they will love to invest with you. So just focus on that, because when you're focusing on two different things, like there is, I do not know exact numbers, but I can tell you there are metrics out there. Like when you're talking to one person, because if I convert this into the computer bits, I think it was like 280 some bits, something like that, total that we have our brain processes. Let's say the random number 300 bits that we have in our brain that we use altogether when we're processing information. And when we're talking to one person at a time, let's say it takes 200 bits to process that information or to carry that conversation, right? So the total processing bits are 300, and we're taking almost about 180 or 200 out of that to carry one conversation. If the second person start talking at the same time, what's going to happen is it's going to be divided attention. So our mind is just having total 300 bits to process that, right? So it's the first conversation and the second conversation. It's not going to be that affected. You're going to be taking bits and pieces from that. Plus, do not forget, because we have a huge awareness that's all around us, because our mind is going in multiple directions. Even though you're talking to me, maybe unknowingly or unaware, being unaware, I'm just like, is going on in my relation, what Jim is doing, or what Daryl is doing, or what is happening behind my back. All those things are being observed and absorbed as well. So it's not gonna be that effective. So, but if you take only one thing, like your underwriting, and just doing 100% focus on that, or just going back to my example, if you're focusing on one conversation only, you're going to get to the depth of that. You'll understand everything completely, and you'll be able to respond to it better. So if you excel in your underwriting, and the other thing is you love underwriting, I would stay with that and completely understand everything. Give my all 300 bits there, even though there's going to be some overhead to the other things that's going in the background automatically, like answering the phone calls or text messages or checking my emails and all that. Beside that, 100% focus on underwriting and excel in that. You will see how automatically it's going to connect to the money for you, how automatically people are going to trust you, and the money is going to start flowing towards you. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you so much.
I totally agree. Totally agree. You're on mute, Jim. I had to do the same thing, Vinki.
Yeah, I'm going to give a different perspective. There's a lot of schools of thought, and Vinki's school of thought would be pervasive, and probably the most common school of thought that you should focus on. The Pareto principle. Focus on the 80% of the things you do very well, and you'll be a lot further ahead. But I will say in this business that most people start small. Most people start with a single asset, and you have to know how to do everything. You have to learn how to do everything. You have to learn to be a property manager. You have to learn to raise capital. You have to learn to underwrite deals. You have to learn how to be a general contractor. And so you have to wear all the hats in your first investment or your first couple of investments if you're starting small. Now, if you immediately go into very large assets and you're part of a team, then I would say, yeah, Vinki's absolutely right. But even as part of a team, we usually, every team that we're on, we find out in almost every single deal that the hardest piece is raising capital, and that everybody winds up raising capital. Some are more successful at it, some are more natural at it, but everybody has to raise capital in order for the deal to get across the finish line. And so you want to lean into that, because if you can't do it at all, then you're going to severely restrict your growth, in my opinion. And so I'm going to ask a question, Masangandi, is that right?
Yes, it's Musungiri.
Musungudi.
Zungadi.
Yes.
Musungudi. So Musungudi, are you an engineer?
Yes.
Okay, I thought that you might be. And engineers really are cerebral. They want to dig into the facts. They want to concentrate on the numbers. They want to concentrate on the things that they can verify to be true and accurate. And because of that, you have a tendency to put yourself in a box and say, I'm not a people person. But in reality, the easiest people for you to raise capital from, and the easiest people for you to talk to that you can relate to better than anyone else, are other engineers. And the great thing about that is that for the most part, engineers are very well paid. So they're great LPs, they're great limited partners. And so you can talk to other engineers and raise capital from other engineers beyond what I can do, beyond what Vinki can do, beyond what Daryl could do. So you do have a natural ability to do it. You just are limiting yourself with your own limiting beliefs about your personality. So don't allow that to define who you are. There's lots of people that come from the engineering background that have said, you know what? I'm going to focus on just engineers and raising capital from engineers, and they've been wildly successful at raising capital. Now, I'm not saying to you that that's what you need to do. If you love underwriting, continue to underwrite. Every team needs a good, strong underwriter. And to Vinki's point, the better you are at underwriting and the better you are at explaining in layman's terms, and that will be your challenge, in layman's terms, explain the underwriting and why it works, then you will be leaning into your strength. But I will say to you, I can hire anyone for $700 or less to do my underwriting. I cannot hire someone for $700 to go out and raise $1 million. So
That's true.
the underwriting portion is super important to every team. And if you have a good team member that is very good at explaining to everybody else, you exponentially become a bigger part of the team just in that ability. But that ability to explain it in layman's terms is the same ability you use to raise capital.
That's true. Yeah, I agree on that. Some little bit different approach to on there is just like because the thing is, for Musundi, he loves numbers. He loves to underwrite, right? So whenever you're trying to raise capital or doing anything, as a matter of fact, in your life, you have to showcase like what you're good at. So if he's good at a number, if he's good at his underwriting, he's expert at that. When he's sharing with his fellow IT professionals or the engineers, and he's able to talk the numbers to the level that they understand that, the money is going to start flowing. That's what I was trying to say earlier, because he does not need to necessarily go even ask. He can just say, okay, look, I like it. This how, this is the story is. That's how I make money. That's how it's going to turn out. And I can bet you there will be 1%, 2%, 3% out there say, hey, let me try this. Let me bet on this a little bit, because he trusts his numbers so much. But the thing is, the way to create the trust with anybody is you have to showcase them at least once, one thing you're good at it. not even the real estate. It could be something off of real estate too. Because if you can do one thing and excel at that, and you're fully dedicated when you're doing that, that shows your character. Because that's just like automatically human nature. You connect with that person. If that person is able to do that, then that person can do this thing as well. So that's the mentality right there overall.
Yeah. So we are beyond the top of the hour. So we're gonna
Yeah.
say thank you very much, everyone, for attending. Thank you, Vinki,
Yeah.
for being here. And for everyone that's watching this somewhere in the future on the internet, I'm going to give you the best secret to raising capital that I have found in my 66 years on this earth, which is don't ask for the sale.
That's right.
If you don't need the money, but you're super excited about the deal, people will ask you, well, how can I get involved? So just talk about the things that you're passionate about and the things that you know about, and you will start to send out those vibrations that Vinki is talking about, and you will start attracting the capital. So again, thank you for being here.
Thank you,
Make sure
Vinki.
you guys check out our Tuesday morning underwriting session with Daryl. It's bi-weekly. Daryl, the next meeting is?
My next meeting is April. I do believe it's April 2nd.
April 2nd. Do you know who the guest is going to be yet?
Nope, not yet.
Okay, so make sure you join that, and make sure you bring a friend, and make sure you comment on LinkedIn to thank Vinki for being here and to reach out to her and make a connection there.
Yeah.
So we hope that you come again next week and bring a friend. So thank you, Vinki.
Thank you,
Love having
Vinki.
you.
Yeah, thank you so
Oh,
much.
Vinki,
Can I?
before you go,
Uh-huh.
if you want people to reach out to you, how would you like for them to do it?
I mentioned earlier when the recording was
Okay.
stopped, because you were off a little bit. Yeah, people can reach out to me. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. That's the best way to connect. But can I
Okay.
pitch one thing? Because I'm doing a conference in May 10th and 11th. And I welcome you all to join. It's going to be a free conference. We're going to have around 25, 30 speakers, and it's going to be all about capital raising. And it's going to give you end-to-end blueprint, from conception to completion, like basically what we talk about a little bit here, and overall, how you can scale your game. So we're going to have family offices there as well. Richard Wilson will be there as well. So please join us. You'll be seeing a lot more communication on that. We're going to be putting out pretty soon. We're working on the landing pages and all that. So please
Vinki,
do that.
do you already have a link that people can go to, Eventbrite or anything?
It's coming up. It's under works. It should be out,
Okay.
because we had little tweaks, and definitely it's gonna be out everywhere. The link is gonna be all over the social media portals, and then you can join from there. We'll look forward to seeing you there. Other than that, I do run a bi-weekly meetup. You're welcome to join. And this week I'm bringing this blockchain expert. I met him at a family office club, and he's already tokenizing the real estate. So I thought that'll be a cool technology for all of us to learn, because there's some more liquidation opportunities for people. People do not like to get their money locked in for 5 years, 3 years kind of thing. And in the blockchain space, I think it's only your 365 days. After that, you're able to kind of, move the transaction around. Either you can go into fiat or you can go into digital, depending upon the level of confidence that you have, or, your outlook at that time. But I thought that'll be cool technology for everybody to learn. So I can put that link in the chat if that's
Yeah.
okay with you guys.
Yeah, do that.
And more importantly than the chat, Vinki, on the LinkedIn post or one of the other social media posts, make sure and drop a link so people can find your meetup.
Yeah.
In the comments on some of the social media posts from today.
Okay, I will definitely do that. And thank you so much for inviting me. That was so much fun to catch up with you guys. I put the link in the chat as well. So join us
Fantastic.
Wednesday, tomorrow actually at 11, same time like you guys.
Tomorrow at 11. Fantastic.
Tomorrow. All right,
Thanks.
Vinki, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
everyone.
time. All right.
Bye-bye.